Everyone is back for the Raptors, and so am I. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Raptors. I'm your host, Ahtisham, my channel where you get reviews, analysis, predictions, and hot takes on all things Raptors as well as some NBA. So, first of all, I would just like to apologize. I haven't been able to make videos for a very long time, especially with the Raptors. Before, a while back, I was doing Cricket World Cup. And then for the past 2 weeks, I have been sick as hell. I don't know what the hell's going on in Toronto and Canada. These viral infections are hitting us hard. So that took me out for 2 weeks, and it seemed like I was just going where the Raptors were going, which was that, we didn't have much of a roster either. But the Raptors played the Cleveland Cavaliers today, and everybody was back. So without a further ado, let's talk Raptors versus the Cavs. So for the past few weeks, the Raptors have been extremely depleted. No Freddie. Pascal got injured in October. Freddie's been in and out. Scotty's been high ankle sprain. Gary Trent Jr. was in and out of the lineup. Precious has been out for a very, very long time. Otto Porter Jr. came for a while, and then he was back out. So it's been injury prone for the Raptors. And I think the Raptors have done really well given the depleted roster we had. I think we went 500 during this time, which is not bad. Given the resources we had. But today we played a complete game. Spicy P was back, Freddie was back, Gary Trent Jr., Scotty was back. We still don't have Precious and Otto Porter Jr., but we still had our main guys back, so it looked good. And the Raptors came out of this game playing a professional game. I know, I think his name is Lance or Mr. Armstrong. I don't know. He talked about it, and I agree with him that the Raptors finally played like a game where you knew they weren't gonna lose that lead. The Raptors came out defensively, just locking the hell out of the Cleveland Cavaliers, rebounding the ball, trying to because Cleveland is a very tall team, even without Jared Allen. But the Raptors were, they seemed to have a little bit more energy, given that Freddie and Pascal were back. So it seemed like they had everything together, and it looked good. So let's talk about the numbers. Sorry about that. The Pascal came out flying, man. He looked good. Given his first return, he scored 18 points and 11 rebounds, which tells you that he's starting, even when he was injured, he put in the work, to maintain his consistency that he was showing in the start of the season. And hopefully he'll go continue this forward. And I know there's going to be games where he's going to be struggling, which is, what happens when you come off of an injury. But today he looked really, really good. The OG Anunoby, again, another 20-point game, which is amazing for him. Scotty Barnes had 11 points. Gary Trent Jr. had 14 points with 7 rebounds. Freddie had a 13-point game. And Chris Boucher, 5 points, but he still did all the dirty work that he needs to do. And overall, the Raptors played a good game. And so let's talk about the offense first of all. I think offensively, the Raptors look better. In the previous games, the Raptors have had long lulls on the offensive end. The Raptors put up 100 points today and beat them with 88. So that's a 12-point defeat for the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Raptors were looking better. The ball was moving better, but there were still situations where they weren't playing as fast as we saw them play last season. But I think it's just the new system that Nick Nurse is trying to get them used to, especially for the playoffs where the game slows down. So that's not bad. And with the Pascal, it seemed like people were feeling more confident. He was assisting the ball. There seemed to be more space available, so it looked better. The second point on the offensive end that was positive was that Tad Young and Hernan Gomez, Bo Cruz, seem to have some great understanding, man. They have this sweet play where it's, ball goes to Tad Young close to the basket, and Hernan Gomez always cuts from the weak side, gets the ball from Tad Young and puts it up, and we always get that 2-pointer. So that was really good. That's been really good, and they're working very well in a tandem, which is positive to see. And on the offensive, on the defensive end, they're doing the same thing. They're rebounding the ball. They're tall. So even with big centers, we're still able to hang in there, and it's creating a lot of second chance points on the offensive end because there's a lot of tall bodies going underneath the basket every possession. So I like the move that Nick Nurse made, bringing both of them in the starting lineup and putting Gary Trent Jr. and Scotty Barnes off of the bench, especially given the struggles they've had coming back from injury, etc., to give them more motivation to try to work their way back into the starting lineup. So I like that. It seemed like everybody was a little bit more settled. It was just one game, so you can't count too much into it, but it looked good today. The third positive on the offensive end was that whenever we needed a bucket, Pascal got it for us. There were the lulls that we were struggling with in the previous, when Pascal was out, Freddie was out, weren't as long, and it seemed better for us. Because we were able to give the ball to Pascal underneath, and just let him go to work. And he looked good. He was making good shots. He was getting to his spots. So that's good to have back, and that will help us keep those, long durations of without any offense out of our game in a way. The last positive I see is OG Anunoby's offensive game. It seems he's awkward as shit when he drives to the basket, but it's starting to become more effective. He's a lot more, physical getting to the bucket. His mid-rangers are looking good. His fadeaways are looking good. He's making the right decisions. He's even starting to pass underneath the bucket. So that's good to see. It gives us another offensive weapon, and especially if Nick Nurse decides to make this kind of a permanent, depending on how successful they are in the future games, something permanent. OG can be the starting third option that we have, and because then it will give him more opportunity in the first 6-7 minutes to get more touches and be more aggressive, which he can carry out throughout the rest of the game. So that was about the offensive end. On the defensive end, the Raptors are playing great defense. The Raptors are, I think, the first key takeaway from the defensive end is OG Anunoby, man. This guy is playing out of his mind on the defensive end. He held Donovan Mitchell, who scored 32 points yesterday, to 8 points today. And he was the primary defender on this guy. And it seems like OG just is reading the the offenses really well to react on the defensive end. And he's, as a steal leader, he's being physical with guys, but at the same time making sure he doesn't foul them. He's always getting his hands into the passing lanes. So he's doing an incredible job. And that trickles down into the second key takeaway, which is that when OG is on his defensive apex, it seems like the rest of the team follows him. They play more defensively sound. There's better communication. And I think that also has to do with my third key takeaway, which is, again, like I mentioned a little bit previously, is Hernan Gomez and Tad Young. They are giving us that defensive mindset and that veteran presence, in a sense, on the defensive end that's helping the young guys just piggyback off of OG and those three guys and just hustling really hard, getting to the passing lanes, just making it difficult on everybody. And that's why I think the Raptors are the number 4 defense in the league right now. And I think, honestly, with everybody back, once we get Precious back, we're probably going to move up a lot more as well. Probably we could end up number 1. And we've done a good job keeping, when we're engaged, giving teams really, really limited in the amount of points they score. Now, of course, there's always some worries with changes that come. Now, I know Nick Nurse has called out Gary Trent Jr., which is understandable. He's one of those coaches that tends to be loving and then, still calls people out. And you got to do that to the young guys. The only worry I have there is that Gary Trent is struggling. I wouldn't want to see him become another Malachi Flynn, because Nick Nurse does have that tendency to put people in a completely shithole. But I don't think Gary Trent is that type of person, and he's not the type of person who's going to continue to struggle. He had a pretty good game coming off of the bench today, so if he accepts that role, great. If he doesn't, I'm sure he can still work his way back into the starting lineup. But again, honestly, today we looked really, really good with him and Scotty coming off of the bench. So I just hope Nick Nurse doesn't, it doesn't seem like Gary Trent is letting that get to his mind, like the coming off the bench. He was still cheering people on. He was still the first one off of the bench. He was still effective today. He still got a good amount of minutes. I think he played, 27-30 minutes. And he got to finish the game off with the starting lineup. So he's getting everything he's become. But I hope Nick Nurse doesn't let any of his bad games off of the bench just put him in like I said, in a complete hole, or like just ignore him, kind of like Malachi Flynn. The second, worry I am seeing is that the Raptors, after Freddie goes off, don't really have a secondary you could say point guard. I think we've given Malachi Flynn enough chances. I don't believe he is the guy. I think we need to trade him, get somebody, even like a Raul Neto or somebody like that, who might not be offensively as efficient, but they can, run the floor with the second unit and make us good. It seems like every time there has to be somebody out of Pascal or Freddie on the floor in order for us to be able to help the ball move really well. And this was very, very evident in the previous games, not today, but in the previous games when, everybody was standing around. Nobody was really running the offense that well. So I would like to see that. Downton is that guy, I think. He's done a pretty good job. But again, I don't think Nick Nurse is going to give him that opportunity just yet. So I think it's time to move on from Malachi Flynn. And we need to give Freddie some sort of breath and to know that, hey, if he goes off or if Pascal go to the bench, there will be people who will be able to run the offense really quickly and they can relax instead of being always on their toes, and Nick Nurse can call on them right away. So those are some of the worries that I saw, not in this game, but previously. But overall, I think the Raptors played a really good game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, beating them 100-88, especially the way Cleveland is considered one of the top teams in the East. With a good comeback from everybody, it was really good to see, and I think the Raptors will continue this. I think Nick Nurse needs to continue to try this lineup, get guys to buy in, and see how successful it is for the 4 or 5 next games. And if it works, it looked really good today. Let's see what happens from there on. So that's what I have for you guys for this video. Hope you enjoyed the analysis. Hope you enjoyed the content. Please hit that like and subscribe button. And I will see you guys after the Raptors next game. And I promise I'll continue to try my best to keep doing this because I love talking basketball. And I hope you guys keep supporting me. See you guys.